My brother called saying Dad was dying and I needed to sign papers immediately. When I arrived, he was at a casino with our cousins laughing. I signed them, smiled, then revealed something they'd never considered. My brother Diego called at 2 a.m., voice cracking. Dad's had another stroke. The lawyers say if you don't sign the estate papers now, everything gets frozen in probate for years. Mom won't get anything. I drove 6 hours through the rain from Sacramento to Fresno, rehearsing what I'd say to Dad if he were still conscious. The house was dark when I arrived. No cars except Diego's BMW. Inside, legal documents covered the dining table beside a lone desk lamp. Diego stood there in his golf polo, not a tear in sight. Where's Dad? Stable. Sleeping. Just sign these so Mom's protected. He pushed the papers toward me, his thumb covering parts of the text. That's when I heard it. Muffled laughter from the garage. Through the window I saw them, our cousins Hector and Ruben, plus Diego's business partner Joel, sitting around our dad's poker table. Beer bottles everywhere. On Hector's phone screen, a basketball game. The Lakers were up by 12. They weren't even trying to hide their celebration. I looked at the papers. It wasn't about protecting Mom. It was a quitclaim deed transferring my portion of Dad's auto shop to Diego. The shop our grandfather built in 1967. The one Dad promised would be split equally between us. Dad's really sick? I asked. Diego nodded, wouldn't meet my eyes. Critical. I pulled out my phone, pretended to check messages. Really, I was texting our tia Rosa, who lived 2 blocks away. She responded in seconds. Your father's in Vegas with your mom for their anniversary. Why? I looked at Diego, at his stupid country club confidence, at the way he'd already mentally spent the money from selling my half. I'll sign, I said. His eyes lit up. He handed me his fancy pen, the one Dad gave him when he graduated from state. I signed every page, even added a little note at the bottom. Executed willingly with full knowledge. Diego was practically vibrating with excitement. I handed back the papers. He stuffed them in a folder, already pulling out his phone. Thanks for understanding. Family first, right? Actually, I said, pulling out my own folder from my jacket. I need you to sign something too. He froze. What? Remember when you borrowed $40,000 from me for your restaurant? The one that failed? You said you'd sign a promissory note but never did. I had one drawn up. Sign it now, and we're square. He laughed. You're seriously doing this now? Family first, right? He was drunk on his victory, barely glanced at what he was signing, just scrawled his name and practically shoved me out the door. Dad will call you when he's better, he said. I drove to a Denny's, ordered coffee, and waited until sunrise. Then I called my attorney. She'd helped me register the shop's name as a trademark 6 months ago, when Diego first started acting sketchy about the business. California law is beautiful sometimes. The physical property might be real estate, but the name Medina and Sons Auto, that was intellectual property, and I owned it outright. By noon, Diego discovered he'd inherited a building he couldn't operate as Medina and Sons without paying me licensing fees that would cost more than the property was worth. The customer list? Part of the trademark agreement. The supplier relationships have been built over 55 years, tied to the name. He called, screaming that I'd tricked him. I reminded him about Dad's stroke. How's he doing, by the way? Still critical? The quitclaim deed was legal, but so was my trademark. He could have the building. I kept the business. Diego tried to open under a new name. Within a month, he'd lost 80% of the customers who'd been coming to Medina and Sons for generations. The suppliers Dad had handshake deals with for decades wouldn't extend him the same credit terms. The promissory note he'd carelessly signed, it included an acceleration clause. When he missed the first payment, because the shop was hemorrhaging money, the full $40,000 came due immediately. Dad called me from Vegas, confused about why Diego was begging him for money. I explained everything. The silence lasted so long I thought he'd hung up. Then, your brother says you sold the business. No, Dad. He stole a building. I kept our family name. There's a difference. 3 months later, Diego sold the building at a loss. The new owner approached me about licensing the Medina and Sons name. I run the shop now. Diego works at a dealership across town. We don't talk, but sometimes I see him drive past, slow down, then speed away. The papers he made me sign at 2 a.m., completely legal. So was everything I did. He should have considered that before lying about our father dying.